guess 60 seconds from now, Mr. Yap, you can start. 60 seconds. 60 seconds. 45 seconds now. Okay, we're ready. For the Dharma request, you've got a sheet there in front of you that has the three kinds of chants that we do. We do Pali and English and Chinese. So if you've see, Bon, do you have your chanting sheet? Can you hold it up where you can see it? That thing. That's what you want.
Om Chin Da De Shen Tin Wei Ci Hua Fei Ji Yi Qie Zhong Shen Qin Zhuan Miao Hua Lun Jiao Dao Wo Men Lu He Liao Shen To Si Li Ku She Le Su Zhen Wu Shen with the Sangha weekly virtue out of compassion for the sake of this assembly and all living beings. Please turn the wonderful Dharma will to teach us how to live suffering and attain bliss and birth and death and quickly realize non-birth.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the Blessed Noble and Perfectly Enlightened One. Namo sadanto suchedoye olahuri sammyao sanputoshe. Wushang shen shen wei miao hua bai qian wan jie nan zao yu. Wo jin jian wan de shou chi. Yuan qie ru lai zhen shi yi. Together, let's see now. Do you have it there? I'll give you a line. You give it back. Supreme and wondrous Dharma. Subtle and profound. Rarely is encountered, even in a million eons. But now we see and hear it, and accept it reverently. May we truly understand the Buddha's actual meaning. Venerable Master, Dharma friends, welcome to our Sutra lecture tonight. Nice to see you all. This is July the 14th. Is today Bastille Day? 14th, yeah? Okay. Storm the barricades. This is the 14th of July, 2018. We're here in Berkeley, California. We're about to investigate the Flower Garland Sutra. And we have a variety of languages in play. We've got a Vietnamese translation in the balcony, should anybody care to have Vietnamese translation. We'll be looking at the sutra in both Chinese and English here on the floor. Very much appreciate the work of our volunteers in bringing this to a larger audience, not only via YouTube Live with Dharma, YouTube webcast with Dharma Realm Live, but also hardworking volunteers in Australia are translating into Mandarin and sending it out over yy.com, which is a Chinese language conferencing software that goes into China. So happy about that. Appreciate everybody's hard work. One thing that we do at the beginning is, am I loud enough? Jin Hosher? No. Jerry, can we boost a little bit? I can't hear in the back. One thing that we do at the start is to invoke, there we go, invoke spiritual presence, and you'll find that. Can we mark that somehow so we know? I know it gets used a lot during the week, but it would sure be good if we could somehow kind of figure out what notch that is. That's good. Here on the cover of your text is the name of the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas who brought us the sutra, and we chant their names. And we do it in Chinese, but I thought it might be fun to do it in the spirit of Taizé. Do people know Taizé? Taizé is a lay Catholic spiritual movement from France, founded during the Second World War by Brother Roger and others. And there it's hallmarked by simple melodies that everyone feels empowered to sing along with. And we've been chanting the Chinese via our Chinese tradition percussive instruments, our wooden fish and our bell. And works, that's a fine thing to do. When we were explaining the sutra for 21 nights in Australia, we picked up a fretless nylon string banjo, and people said that was that also had its own flavor to it. But let's see what we can do with the Taizé style. that? Does that sound familiar? That's our melody. So let's try it. Ah, there's our note. Ready? Now I'm going to invite everybody. I can't put my palms together because I'm doing something different with my hands, but you all can. And what we're doing is we're actually inviting the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas, the Flower Garland Sutra's assembly, spiritual Dharma protectors, to come in. So it's an invocation. That's the point of it. And this is just an adornment to make it sound happy and in harmony. Here we go. Namo Da Fang Guang Fo Huayan Ji Huayan Hai Wei Fo Pu Sa Namo Da Fang Guang Fo Huayan Ji Huayan Hai Fo Pu Sa Namo Da Huayan Ji Huayan Hai Wei Fo Pu Sa Namo Da Quang Fo Huayan Ji Huayan Hai Wei Fo Pu Sa Namo Da Fang Guang Fo Huayan Ji Huayan Hai Wei Fo Pu Sa Namo Da Fang Guang Fo Huayan Ji Huayan Hai Wei Fo Pu Sa. One more time. Namo Da Fang Guang Fo Huayan Ji Huayan Hai Wei Fo Pu Sa. We are looking into the words the Buddha spoke first upon enlightenment. First thing he said. We've taken just a piece of it. That first teaching is called the Flower Garland Sutra. And one of the important chapters in it is called the 10 Stages. We've been working on this for years now, more than one. And of the 10, we're at number 8, and we're almost done. So I'm going to invite everybody, please, to open your sutra text. Page 44 and 45. Last week we talked about patience. And before we start, let's put it in a context. This is, what we're looking at is the voice of a bodhisattva, an awakened being. His name is Vajra Treasury, treasury of adamantine light. Vajra treasury, treasury of Vajra, storehouse of Vajra. Vajra is this indestructible substance, kind of like diamond, but it's actually not a world, it's not something that we have seen or touched or felt or heard or bought or sold. It's a spiritual entity, but it's the closest thing. If we had to say what it was, it would be like diamond. It can cut, it's indestructible, it's brilliant, shines. And the Bodhisattva is talking, but it's the Buddha who gave him the authority and the content. So it's the Buddha speaking through the lens that is the Bodhisattva, Vajra treasure. So he's talking directly to somebody who has accomplished the teachings, the lore, the learning of an 8-stage bodhisattva. So he's saying, once you do this, you get this. Once you accomplish that, this is what you can do. Here's what it looks like. Here's what it is made of, and here's how it functions. The Ti, the Xiang, and the Yung are all there. It's what it's made of, what it looks like, and what it does. Okay. So we're right at the top of the page. We're going to start with 成就诗人. Okay. I'll give you a line in Chinese. If you want to follow, please try it out. Maybe you've never heard your own voice speaking Chinese sounds. Kind of neat. Try it out. So you can follow the ABCD, the Romanized part. If you can read the Hanzi, of course, you're all set. That's it. Ready? Here we go. 成就. Now, I'll give you a line, you give it back. Here we go. 成就世人超习论. Your turn. 成就世人超习论. 生生不动恒寂灭. 一切世间无能之. 心向取着悉皆离. Bingo. Over to the right, together, in unison. Ready? All together. Once you accomplish this patience, you transcend frivolous debate. With wisdom most profound, unshakable, ever serene and tranquil, unknowable to ordinary people in the world, this is wisdom free from hallmarks of mind and beyond grasping and attachment. Okay. One of the hallmarks of this chapter, one of the neat, amazing, unique, funny parts of this chapter is at the beginning, the speaker didn't want to talk it, didn't want to speak it. He was asked, Vajra Treasury Bodhisattva got requested to speak the Dharma. He said, I'm not going to. No. They're not going to understand it. It's too hard. And because they're not going to understand it, they're going to say irresponsible things like, oh, this is bogus. Why bother? You know, what a waste of time, or something to that extent. So he said, I don't want to do that. I'm not going to talk about it. And it took repeated requests followed by the Buddha's orders. You go ahead, it's okay. You can talk it. You can say this. You can explain these things. So Vajra Treasury Bodhisattva didn't want to disobey the Buddha, direct order, so he said, okay, I'll do it. This is the part that he was afraid people weren't going to get, because there has been an actual change in the mind of the Bodhisattva who is being described here. This is a text. It's an instruction book. It's a manual. It's a how-to. How a Bodhisattva cultivates at this point if she wants to behave like an 8-stage Bodhisattva. This is how. Okay? So there's been a change. Consciousness has flipped over to wisdom. If we had to give an analogy, what would it be like? Anybody bake bread? Do we have any bakers here? 1, 2, 3, only. Huh, interesting. Bakers, right? So, anybody use bread machines? A few more. There, see? 21st century, monk. Yeah, right. When you, let's skip over the bread machines and go back to the analog part, right? The old manual part, before you plugged it in. Which is what? You start with flour, and you start with water, and you start with yeast, maybe. Maybe if it's sourdough, you've got sourdough starter. Maybe you throw in olives. Maybe you've got baking soda, baking powder. And you mix it up and you get it out there on the floured board and you boom, you push and you fold it and you push and put a lot of effort into kneading the bread dough. And because it's got yeast in it, if it's not matzah, unleavened bread, it rises. You put it in a pot, cover it with a damp towel, and come back 3 or 4 hours later, and sure enough, what was this big is now this big. You put it into the oven, and something that in the pot was not edible. Bread dough is not appetizing, right? You don't want to put the raw bread dough in your mouth and chew it. Put it in the oven, and it bakes. You bake bread, and that wonderful aroma comes out, and then you turn it out of the pan, and oh boy, everybody goes, that smells good. And it's mouth-watering. It's changed, right? The flour and the water and the yeast have combined, plus the heat of the oven, have transformed that inedible stuff into something delicious, nourishing, memorable. Bread, staff of life. So, the same thing has happened to the bodhisattva's mind. Not that it's edible and delicious, no, that's not what I mean. What has happened is there's been a change from bread dough to bread, from consciousness to wisdom, and it's different. Consciousness before the cultivation process was analog. You had to think things over, weigh things out. Duality was still there. There's me and my mind, there's an idea, there's a decision, there's thought and resolve. Occasionally there's doubts, there's confusion a little bit, less and less and less, but a little bit. After this 8th stage, all different. The doubts are gone, the ignorance is gone, the delusions are gone, the self that thinks things over, the thinking process itself, as the sutra describes it, all that has been transformed. And now thought and action, subject and object, outside, inside, one thing. It's now bread. It's been transformed. So, says, once you accomplish this patience, you transcend frivolous debate. Shilun, very useful word here. Frivolous debate. At one point, we used to translate that as sophistry. People know sophistry? Sophists, S-O-P-H-I-E-S-T. The sophists were a school in Greece, ancient Greece. It was, I am not qualified to give you a good rundown of it, but the hallmark of the sophists was extended debate, lots of opinion, lots of dialogue, many, many theories for their own sake. Just let's chew that one over. Oh, you chewed that one over very well. What do you think? Well, I have a different theory. Well, let's hear it. We'll bring it out. Okay, so that style of thinking and argumentation and debate became known as sophistry because why? It never resulted in action. It was debate for its own sake. And so this says, Chao, right? Chao Xi Lun goes beyond discussion for its own sake. Once you accomplish this patience, once you get to the 8th stage, you're way beyond words for the value and carrying meaning. You don't just talk about it anymore. Now, every thought, every word, every deed is unified again by the process of cultivation, by the heat of the baking, into teaching of living beings. Right? So it's all purpose-driven now. And the purpose is to teach. Okay? So, frivolous debate, sophistry. Yes. Wisdom profound, unshakable, serene, and tranquil. Now wisdom has arrived in the mind of the Bodhisattva, which people in the world can't imagine it because they haven't been through the fire. They haven't baked the dough. And that's not a value judgment. There's no, and therefore they're stupid, or therefore we look down on them. Not that at all. It's that truly, truly something is different now in this cultivator. This bodhisattva is different. They're not the same as before. So the Vajra Treasury is just explaining what has happened to this person, to you if you go through the training. This is you now. Xinxiang, Qujiao, Xijie. Why? Xijie, the person here has gone beyond. Li has left behind what? Xin, xiang, the hallmarks of the mind. So ideas, language itself, imagery, all the things that we require if we want to think about something, Li doesn't run anymore. That whole movie that we call thinking is no longer on the screen. Again, Qu Jiao, grasping and, what was it? Grasping and attachment. That process of, I like that idea, I don't like that idea. That used to work, but maybe maybe that was not a good idea, or what a great idea. I think let's do that again. All that kind of mental functioning is 20th century stuff, and we're now in the 21st century. For the Bodhisattva, that's all history. The mind doesn't do that now. He or she is in a new level of function. Okay, so far so good. I can't give you my experience in this because this is an 8-stage bodhisattva. Thank you very much. This is out there, and it's really nice to be able to explain it because I say, well, yeah, this is what it was like. But that's the challenge of the 10 stages is you have to work on faith and understanding of how the text explains it. We can still use plenty of analogies, but in terms of what's it like, can't really help. But it's so compelling a description. And the things that we take on faith are what? That this is a human experience. This is not separate. This is not what gods go through, or a priest caste goes through, or somebody who's specially anointed or appointed, or some extraordinary individual. No, this is, should you embark on the training of the 8th stage, this is what happens to you, right? So, totally impartial, egalitarian. Okay, next one. Here we go. 住于此地不分别，譬如比丘入灭定，如梦渡河觉则无，如生翻天觉下狱。When abiding on this stage, you do not discriminate. Like a bhikshu who's entered the samadhi of still quiescence, the way a dream of escaping a river is gone when one awakens, or how one born in the Brahma heaven does not desire a lower level. The point of this stanza is your mind's different. Works different now. It doesn't search and choose like that. Master Hua would give a really good picture of a mirror. He would say at this point your mind's like a mirror. And it's a good analogy because we can imagine. What's a mirror like? Flat, bright, it's not crooked, not marred, or not cloudy, not distorted. Anything that comes in front of the mirror is reflected perfectly. Just there it is. Moves this way, the mirror catches it. Moves this way, catches it. Farther away, closer, catches it. Take it away, the mirror doesn't move. Bring it back in front of the mirror, it's right there. You can see it perfectly, and then it's gone. The mirror doesn't move. That's the way the mind works now. It doesn't have to focus. Let me shift my picture like a camera lens. People familiar with a manual focus lens? You turn it and suddenly it's really sharp. Okay? Your cell phone, right? Your smartphone. You know, if you hold the smartphone and tap on the screen, so I want to take a picture of my teacup, bring up my camera, okay, there we go, and a little golden square came up, and if I tap it, there it is, it focuses there. If I tap it there, now it's focusing on Van. If I tap it there, it's focusing on Heng Sure and Guanyin Bodhisattva, right? So, and it takes a while to focus. You can see the lens acquire the image sharply, right? So that's the mind when it's discriminating. It doesn't work that way now. It's no different. Close, far, it's instant, right? So a whole new level of function. When abiding on this stage, you don't discriminate anymore. There's no time when it's out of focus. Like, and there he gives us 3 images. What's it like? It's like a monk, like a bhikshu, it says, or bhikshuni would be the same, like a bhikshuni who has entered the samadhi of still quiescence. What's that? Mia ding. What is the mia ding? This is a samadhi. It's also a nirvana, interestingly. This is a nirvana with remainder, it's called. Yo yu nipan. You can get to this place where if you decide, you stop right here. Congratulations, you've reached your highest expression of attainment. Are you a Buddha? You going to become a Buddha? You got to that point, you stop. And that's pretty awesome. You're an 8th stage bodhisattva forever. You're a 7th and a half. You're not quite at the 8th stage. That's what it's like. Which is to say, how the mind works now. The mind works this way. You're like somebody who dreams of escaping a river, scary dream, nightmare, and then you wake up. I'm going to bring everybody back to I should have checked it out before I should have gotten the page before I stopped here. Okay, it's hard to know, discriminations. Okay, page 11. Look at page 11. What are we looking at? These are the verses that repeat the prose, right? Or some people say the verses came first, the prose elaborated the verses. In any case, page 11 is where this image appeared first. What is it like? The bodhisattva is like somebody who, in a dream, sees himself fall into a big river, and who, while trying to get to the other side, exerts great effort and does whatever he or she can to get out of the river. The hard work and expedient skills wake him from the dream, and once awake, all struggles stop. This bodhisattva is the same in that he sees sentient beings caught in the 4 kinds of rapids, and to help them get to the other shore, he has exerted, that's a typo, great effort and applies great strength. His work and vigor bring him to the ground of stability, the 8th ground. Once there, his efforts stop. Duality practices, the mirror and the object, and image practices completely cease to appear. Okay, run that by one more time. What's going on? It's trying to give us a picture of this flip that happens at the 8th stage, the stage of stability. 不动地, no moving, right? What happens? It's like a nightmare that you're drowning. So, okay, woo, scary nightmare, you're drowning. And instead of panicking or freaking out, you say, oh no, I'm going to get out of this river, get out of this lake, get out of this bathtub or ocean. And you do. You wake up and you don't struggle anymore. Congratulations, you didn't drown. So you've got some sort of lucid control while in the dream state that allows you to wake up, and you're not only are you awake now, but you're not in the nightmare of drowning in the dream. Okay? So the sutra says, likewise, right here comes the other half of the analogy. So that's one thing it's like. Pusa yi fu ru shi. The bodhisattva is like this too, which is, okay, here we get the second half of the analogy. What's it like? The bodhisattva sees us, sentient beings, drowning in 4 kinds of rapids, 4 kinds of, they call them great turbidities, and violent torrents, that's what they were called. Desire, existence, becoming, and attachment. And to help those beings wake up, the bodhisattva enters the stream and pulls them out. When they get to the ground of stability, there's no more danger. Danger is over, and all of that violent effort stops. You're safe. You've reached what? No further retreat. Irreversibility, they call it. Okay? So, that's the image from the sutra. So imagine, okay, here we are. I can identify a nightmare, right? Some people have nightmares that just... Anybody have a nightmare that's been with you from childhood? Something like, yeah? Mine was always being on stage and not knowing my lines. Coming out in a play and realizing that everybody's waiting for me to go forward and I didn't know what to say. It's like, terrifying. And I had that same dream from time to time for years. Other people have dreams of being chased, or seeing someone who is they're threatening somehow. You wake up in a sweat. So in this case, it's like the bodhisattva has a dream of drowning, but he or she can wake up and no further the necessary the point that the sutra makes is no further effort is required. You're safe. You don't have to struggle. And likewise, the bodhisattva, because of his or her vows, sees living beings drowning. And he is able to save them, and they don't have to be afraid of drowning or struggling or dying anymore. That all stops. What does it say? Back on page 11, the Chinese was... said, 所作皆息, the things they do all come to a rest. The bodhisattva has gone from effortful practice to effortless practice. That's the big deal here. It's kind of automatic pilot now. And as a result, it goes on to say, the amount of rescuing of living beings the bodhisattva can do is exponentially greater, hugely more effective now. Because the effort of discriminating, maybe this, maybe that, I don't know, what do you think? That's all gone because of the fire of cultivation has baked the bread, to mix our metaphors, right? Okay, so you see how the verses are repeating images that came up earlier in the prose. The verses are really terse, really concise, so it gives us one line. The way a dream of escaping a river is gone when you wake up. Right? Number 3, or how somebody born in the Brahma heaven doesn't desire a lower level. Okay. This is neat. This is something you wouldn't know if you hadn't read other chapters of the sutra. Which is what? The Flower Garland Sutra takes us through Buddhist heavens. And that's plural. Multiple heavens. The other chapters describe them in detail. Now, anybody who has not been raised in a monotheistic religious culture or community, no big deal. Heavens, yeah, we hear about them all the time. If you read Shioji, monkey, right? Journey to the West, right? Everybody read Shioji or seen the movie, right? Heng Sure, right? Seen him in multiple versions of monkey. He's up in the heavens stealing the peaches of immortality. You know, we're just, oh yeah, heavens, right? So the gods come down and punish him and blah. That's in the Chinese context. Heavens are approachable. They're something we can imagine. Maybe our ancestors are there, right? So the gods come down. In a monotheistic culture or world, there's one heaven. God on high is there. And you go at the end of your life if you were good. Descriptions. It's entirely based on your effort. It's not a result of grace. So this concept of grace, even though, interestingly, the Buddha deputizing Vajra treasury is a bit like grace. What's the difference between grace and jia chi or jia bei? That would be somebody's dissertation, right? The Buddha gives the bodhisattva what he or she needs to speak this dharma at the start, and without that special blessing from the Buddha, the bodhisattva wouldn't be doing it, wouldn't be teaching. That's a little bit like grace. What's the difference? I'll wait to read your dissertation when you write it. So give me an acknowledgement in your thanks, okay? So in any case, here are the heavens. They're really specific. The road to the heavens is really clear. What does it say? Somebody who's reborn as a deva in the form heavens, the Brahma heaven, doesn't want to come back in the desire realm. Where do we find out about it? Look at the Heng Sure, the worthy leader or the chief of goodness chapter, all about the heavens. Wow. Specifics, details about the heavens. It's an earlier chapter than the 10 grounds. Give an example. To get out of the desire realm heavens, you have to defeat Mara. You've got to get past the devil. Right? Who is Mara? That's Satan. Mara is in the heavens, interestingly. And if you've read the Old Testament, Hebrew Scriptures, the book of Job says Satan also lives in the heavens, not in the hells. So here we have Hebrew mythology giving us the devil who's out there to stop your progress in the heavens, right where the Buddhist description of Mara puts him. And how do you get past Mara? The answer is you end desire. We have to end desire. We have to be very okay with things that before would hook us, or things we would hate. Things we love, things we hate, that kind of discrimination, desire-based, right? I see that, I want that. Oh, I'm all over that. Oh, that's me. I'm loving it. Right? Oop, we're in the desire realm. As soon as we get to a place where what? Not that we're like monsters of renunciation. I don't need that stuff. It's not that. That won't work. That's still effort. How do you get past desire? Your wisdom sees through the surface. Everything looks the same. Why? You can see that it is. Everything, everything, everything exists because conditions come together to create it. Everything, everything, everything ceases to exist when the conditions fall apart. It's over. So if you can see it before you're drawn to it, you see that at the heart, this is made up of earth, fired, right? This is ceramic right here, this teacup. This is earth, okay? Temporarily, it's in the form of a ceramic teacup lid. This is wood. This is temporarily on loan from a tree. And it's on its way to being ash, right? If you add heat to it, it'll burn and return to earth. So you go, yeah, okay, I get it, right? Everything is made of conditions, and everything is temporarily in the form we see it in. So if your vision sees that, what do? You go, I don't need to identify it as mine. I don't need to own it. It's okay if I have it. If I don't have it, it's okay. And your wisdom grows. Things start to look, what do they call it? Pingdang. Impartial. You are impartial towards all dharmas. Take it or leave it. Pretty much the same. No different. Why grab it? No different. Why hate it? Pretty much the same. Right? Including the thing that's liking, meaning your body and your mind. Brought together by conditions, passing through. That's how you end desire, not by forcing some sort of, oh, I hate chocolate. Chocolate's bad. Right? Chocolate's not to blame, guys. Chocolate is no fault. Right? It's my craving chocolate that makes it so tempting and so powerful over me, right? The chocolate's calling me, ooh, eat me, eat me. You know, wow. So if you were able to see through it, it's like, no, chocolate's really nice. I like chocolate, but I don't need it to be happy. And if I don't get it, I'm not unhappy. That's how we get to this place where Mara goes, oh, I've got some special chocolate for you. It's got peppers in it. You've all seen the movie Chocolat, right? Johnny Depp, right? Oh, how good. And we go, no thanks. I stopped watching movies too, you know. Like movies are okay, but nah. You know, Juliette Binoche, Johnny Depp. They're just acting, you know. They're professional actors. They're wonderful, good film. No thanks. I'm busy. I'm meditating. So Mara goes, curses, you know. And what happens? We get to the Brahma heaven because Mara couldn't hook us and couldn't scare us. So, wowee. So the sutra says, what happens when you get to the Brahma heaven? Oh my goodness. Constantly in chanting, dhyana, constantly in samadhi. And what's that samadhi like? So good that you asked, right? Li sheng xi le di. Ding sheng, li xi, let's see, ding sheng xi le di. Li xi miao le di. She nian qing jing di. The four stages of the dhyanas. The first one is said to be joy that comes from your experiencing something that no ordinary person can experience. Li sheng xi le di. It's a stage where you go beyond what ordinary folks can experience. That kind of bliss. So, Master Hua would always say, okay, count them up, lump together all the stuff you love and what it feels like when you experience stuff you love, and multiply it by about 1,000,000, and you've got the first dhyana. When your body and your mind are functioning in a whole new way, and boy, is it delicious, he said. That's the first one. Okay, then ding sheng xi le di. The second stage comes when samadhi arrives. 定生 samadhi is born, and it's the stage of happiness. Correspondingly, he would say in the first one, your heartbeat stops and you don't die. The second one, your lungs stop and you don't die. You breathe through your skin pores. That's how quiet and pure your body is. And there is a corresponding state of bliss and happiness that, you got these exponents, right, to the 10th power of happiness. Then, li xi miao le di, you get to a state of bliss, or we run out of words, happiness, joy, bliss, tranquility, serenity that is beyond happiness. Li xi miao le di, wondrous bliss beyond happiness. So, that's when your coarse thinking stops. And your body and your mind have never, ever, 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 ever experienced that unless you have been in this state before. Then the last one is 舍念清净地, subtle thoughts stop. And they say that's the state that the Buddha was in, the prince, when he became the Buddha. The Buddha became a Buddha out of the dhyanas, they say, that night. Sitting there, and the bright moon illuminated him in the sky, and he became the Buddha. So, how wonderful is that? When you're in that Brahma heaven, you don't think, gee, I wonder if I really want to try some of that chocolate. Maybe that's going to make me really happy, Put it on my tongue and I'm just going to, Did I tell you my chocolate story? Oh my goodness. I learned how crude, what a chocolate newbie I am. I was in Brussels, and we had visited with a diplomat from, he was, let's see if I get it straight, he was a Buddhist, and he was the Korean government's diplomat to Belgium, to Brussels. Very lovely man. And he was about to retire. He had lived in Brussels for a couple decades, and he totally knew the city and all the people, and he'd been a much beloved figure because of his character, his personality. And so I said, ordinarily monks don't want anything, but since we're here in Belgium, I would really like to take my mother and my sister some good chocolate. Right? Guoji and Gokuk. Gokuk is not here, right? They were with me, so they would remember the story. And so I mentioned it to and I said, I've actually got a little bit of funds here that I would like to use for chocolate because, you're in Belgium and make my, what's that? Okay, see, no Brahma heaven for you, Kai. I'm sorry. No. So the diplomat said, yes. He said, there is excellent chocolate here in Belgium, Belgian chocolate. And I said, well, do you know any shops where we could go? And he said, I do, but we have wonderful commercial chocolate here. I could take you to the store. I said, no, I want the best chocolate from my mom. He went, okay, Dharma Master. So he took me into down this cobbled street with cobblestones, and a big cathedral was there. The cathedral had been there since 1500 or something, and old Brussels. And I had some second thoughts because we came around the corner and here was the store, and it was on a row of what were obviously, expensive shopping stores. And there was a jewelry store, and the jewelry store had, a $3,000 watch on a revolving tray. And over here was a camera store with a Leica camera. And this was the chocolate store, and there were 3 squares of chocolate on a revolving tray with lights shining down on them, and it was revolving. And I went, okay. So he went in, and Mr. Kim said, allons Pierre, ça va bien? J'ai un ami assis pour le chocolat. And so Henri comes out. Did I say Pierre? Was it Henri? I think Henri. Henri comes out and, oh, vous êtes bouddhiste, n'est-ce pas? You know, oui, je suis bouddhiste. Ah, comme ça. Alors, et aujourd'hui, qu'est-ce que vous faites maintenant? And Mr. Kim says, well, he would like to look at some chocolate. And so, oh, bien. Alors, et le goût le particulier, you know, and he said, and so I lost my vocabulary right away, and I said, Mr. Kim, what's he saying? And he said, he wants to know what kind of mouthfeel you like. And what consistency, whether you want the the European standard consistency or something a little better, you know. And I'm in deep water right away, and so I'm kind of, well, can you help me out here? And so Mr. Kim knew immediately that I had no idea what I was talking about, and he said, well. He said, perhaps we could try some of the lower price chocolates. And he brought, oh, you see, and he, please try this, you know. So I tasted a little sliver of it. And right away, if I had hair on my head, it would have stood up on end, you know, like that. And I said, that's quite remarkable. How much is that? For like a pound. And he, oh no, we don't sell it by the pound, we sell it by the piece. You know? That would be about 500 euros, you know. This is competition chocolate. This is the, you know, we compete with Germany and Holland and France. And I thank you, this is wonderful, bless you. The Buddha's light shines upon you, you know, Gongda Wu Liang, let's get out of here. I don't have that kind of money. My sister doesn't. And Mr. Kim says, very well, you know. And he took me around the corner to the drugstore, and he brought me some best chocolate I've ever tasted, and it was, you know, drugstore chocolate in Belgium. So, my goodness, I truly had no idea what chocolate in Belgium is like when you get to that level. So, boy, oh boy. And what's the stuff that we brought home? It had the lion on it. What was it? It's, people know Belgian chocolate. There's a lion. Now they've actually franchised into LA. You can get the, what's it called? There's Belgian, it has a lion. It's got two names. And I brought that back, and it was a hit with my mom and my sister. Oh, they thought, gee, when are you going back to Europe? Could you get some more of that, you know? So anyway, I don't remember the name of what we finally bought, but it was a commercial brand. And even that was something that nobody had ever tasted before. So the Henri, the Belgian chocolatier, had just kind of like wine snobs. Anybody know wine snobs? You know, like a hint of this and a taste of this. And his chocolate was the same. He was an artiste, you know, and my tongue totally had no idea what I was tasting, except it made my almost hair stand up, you know. So that's the Brahma heaven of chocolate, you know. And the Bodhisattva it's hard to go back to Hershey's after you've tasted this, you know. Oh my. And like a Milky Way, Milky Way, no. So, how one born in the Brahma heaven does not desire a lower level. Indeed, indeed. So, this is called what? Irreversibility. The Bodhisattva does not retreat after he's tasted Belgian chocolate. He doesn't go back. So, okay, 以本愿力蒙劝导，叹其忍胜与观顶。语言我等众佛法，汝今 为祸当清净. Through the strength of past vows, you get the Buddha's exhortation. They praise your samadhi as supreme and anoint the crown of your head, saying, the many Buddha dharmas we bestow are not yet yours. You should diligently advance. Okay, what is neat about this stanza is this is the first time the Buddhas talk. And the sutra says that at this point, you get what do you call it? The Buddhas come and serve as your cheerleader. You get a la la dui, right? Right? That's what it is in Chinese? La la dui, shema, ma. They come and they say, go, go, go. Don't quit. You're not there yet. What do you make of that? Right? Let's take a look. Because of your vows to become a Buddha, your Bodhi resolve, you get the Buddha's exhortation. Yi ban yuan li meng chen dao. The Buddhas show up to cheer you on. How interesting, right? And you think, what Buddha? Shakyamuni Buddha? Amitabha? Medicine Buddha? Maitreya? Who comes? Well, it doesn't say, but the idea is, if this didn't happen, you might stop here. That's the deal. And you wouldn't become a Buddha. You wouldn't get to the 9th stage, you wouldn't get to the 10th stage, you wouldn't get to Buddhahood. If the Buddhas didn't come and say, continue, continue, do not quit. You're not there yet. What do? They say, your samadhi is real, and furthermore, look at this, yu guanding. They put water or oil on the crown of your head, which is very interesting. We'll talk about that in a minute. Yu yan wo deng, zhong fo fa, ru jin wei huo dang qing jin. You haven't got all the Buddha's teachings yet. You're close, you're not there yet. Don't stop. How about that? Can you imagine? It's like you're there, you're meditating just as always, but you're kind of halfway through the gate. You haven't crossed through. You're in what the anthropologists call a liminal state. You're in the limen, like the lintel of the door. You're in the threshold. You haven't gone through, and they want you to go through, and some don't. So the Buddhas are here going, go, go, go. Keep cultivating. Just keep sitting. And you don't have to do anything special. You just have to not stop, is what I gather. That's what I think is going on here. This is what Master Hua called the second most significant moment in the entire Bodhisattva path. The first being when you fa putishin, when you make the Bodhi resolve. That's the key moment. This is the second key moment. You have to keep going. And there's a mental component of this, which is reality doesn't resemble anything you recognize or read about or heard about or imagined or dreamed of. Reality is misbehaving right now. Up is not up, down is not down, night is not night, day is not day. You're in the process of going from bread dough to bread. You have to keep going until the cooking is done. And then you're through. Okay? So, what is it when they say, there's actually, if you look, the next 1, 2, 3 stanzas are all Buddha's exhortation. So, they show up because they want more Buddhas. They want the Bodhisattva to continue. Connie? Got a microphone for anybody? Here we go. There it is.
The part where it says anoint the crown of your head, that reminded me of like pictures where Master Hua had his hand on your head back in the days. I was wondering, is that like a way of him anointing your head? And how did that feel? You know, what was the effect of that? Like, what was the point of his hand on your head?
Well, let me talk about this here, so we can, and so that's, Connie wants to know, she's seen pictures of Master Hua with a hand on people's head. What's that like? So what is the guanding, this anointing of the crown? It said, anointing of the head. This is really interesting from a religious, comparative religious point of view, because other religions do this too. And there's something here that seems to be a universal ceremony to indicate somebody has reached a new level. Another word that we have for it is consecration. You get consecrated, there's a ceremony for bringing you into a new level. There are, when you become, Sutra, Avatamsaka Sutra, same sutra, describes the ceremony that happens when you become a Zhuan Lun Shengwang, when you become a sage ruler who is a Chakrabartin, a wheel turner. It's a god stage, a deva stage. The same ceremony exists in Hinduism, which is what? Oil is put on the crown of your head to indicate your new status. And is it symbolic? Does the oil or the water matter? Different opinions about that. My understanding is it's there to symbolize the opening of wisdom. You've changed. So, Zhuanlun Shengwang, Chakrabartin, wheel-turning kings go through the ceremony, which says, yep, you're now able to rule. You're different. You're a monarch now. You're a wise, sage monarch. Okay? So Buddhism too. Here it is. The Buddhas put something on the head of the Bodhisattva to open the wisdom. Okay, story. I attended the consecration of Bishop John Wester. People who have been part of our Buddhist Catholic dialogue know Bishop John. He's the auxiliary bishop of San Francisco for years, who was then sent to Salt Lake City to become the full bishop, Roman Catholic bishop of Salt Lake City. And his comment was, boy, if you want to be lonely, become the Catholic bishop in Salt Lake City. Everybody there is Mormon, right? And then Pope Benedict appointed Bishop John Wester the Bishop of Santa Fe, with his ministry being immigration. So Bishop John, who speaks good Spanish, was the Vatican's point man for immigration down in Santa Fe. Very hot button with walls and families being separated and children put in cages. That's, under the purview of the Bishop of Santa Fe. So anyway, I attended Bishop John's ordination as auxiliary bishop of San Francisco because of our connection through United Religions. And I was the Buddhist representative there and watched him, who came, the cardinals of Cardinal of San Francisco and L.A., 2 different cardinals came to bring him to his new status as auxiliary bishop. And there was chanting, there was a moment when Bishop John prostrated himself completely flat to ask for forgiveness, right? David, have you ever seen that? The ceremony? You just go flat out on the floor. And then, what did they do? They put a paper cone around his head and anointed the crown of his head with oil. They did that. Roman Catholics do it too. How interesting. There it was. And I'm like, whoa, look what I'm seeing. Guanding. Are you a Chakravartin wheel-turning sage king in secret? You know, maybe this is a real bodhisattva undercover. Who knew? You know. So, there it was, right? Anointing the crown, and it was oil. And they had protection to keep it from getting on his robes, But it was part of their ceremony. Roman Catholics do it too. How interesting, So, clearly this is an important moment ceremonially, symbolically, for somebody who's moving to a new stage in their practice. The Buddhas anoint the crown of the head of the Bodhisattva, and they say, your samadhi is supreme, and we have more to give you, but we can't yet because you're not there. Continue, and we'll give them to you. We'll give you the Buddha dharmas that we want you to have. Keep going. Keep coming. Right? So, what an interesting turning point in the career of a bodhisattva. There's some risk that they won't go forward. And the Buddhas don't want that to happen. They want the bodhisattva to really go forward. Okay. So far, so good. Right? Let's do another. 汝随已灭烦恼火，世间火焰有痴染。当念本愿度众生，悉是修因取解脱。Although you've extinguished affliction's fires, the blaze of worldly beings' delusions still burns. Remember your past vows to rescue sentient beings, so they all cultivate the cause and aim for liberation. Tend to liberation is not a good translation. They all head for liberation. It's not tend sounds tentative. They're going towards. So, what do they say? Although you're no longer bothered by afflictions, everybody else who's not here is. So don't forget your compassionate vows to save them. You still have work to do to rescue living beings so that they can 修因取解脱. They can plant the causes, plant the seeds of liberation and get there. Okay? They're playing to his compassion, to his or her selflessness. Don't forget, people are still suffering, right? Continue. So, neat. Master Hua at one point, it was in a chant session, and it was like day number 5 of a chant session, and a lot of people had just completely lost patience with the pain in their knees or the cold and the long hours. And so Shifu came in and said, he said, I'm no different than any of you. I am the same as all of you. When you hurt, I hurt. The only thing that's different, he said, I don't have any more affliction. 我跟你们是一样的，就有一点不同，我没有烦恼. He just said it real matter-of-factly. I have no more affliction. No more troubles. So what's affliction? People don't know that word, right? I have no more troubles. And he walked out. He just left, right? And just left that kind of hanging in the air. And it's the kind of ordinary plain vanilla statement that you wouldn't necessarily think anything of. Oh yeah? So what? You know? But then when you think about it, what that means is no greed left, no anger left, no affliction left, no pride, no doubt, no self. And it's huge. I'm the same as all of you, he said. I just don't have any afflictions now. And I thought, wow, that is such a claim. How wonderful that would be to have no more affliction. Your mind is clean at that point. And says, you've extinguished affliction's fires. But other living beings who are not there are on fire. They're burning. So don't forget that you vowed, you started to cultivate because of compassion. So please continue. Don't quit. All right? So far, so good. I got another really good Bishop Wester story. I think some people know this one. This morning I had an early morning phone call with the new coordinator of the Monastic Interreligious Dialogue, MID, otherwise known as Dialogue Monastique Interreligieux, the DIM, MID. This is the Vatican's official office, I guess you'd say, for dialogue among monastics. And if you think monks and nuns, Catholics have monks and nuns, Buddhists have monks and nuns, Hindus have monks and nuns. That's pretty much it. Celibate monastics, Methodists, Protestants, nope. The lay Orthodox, Greek Orthodox have monks and nuns, correct. Not many others do, you know. So, when we've had really, really valuable Buddhist, Catholic, Hindu conferences, it's because of MID, Monastic Interreligious Dialogue. They have a new director, an oblate, not a nun, but a Catholic lay woman who's very vigorous. And I was explaining to her about our Northern California Chan/Zen Catholic dialogue. Who has been part of that? Chin Chuan, you've been part of it. Jin Hosher has been part of it, right? So the Chan Zen Catholic dialogue began in 2003, and Bishop John Wester, the auxiliary bishop of San Francisco, took part. And when I tell Catholics around the world that we've got a bishop sitting with us, they go, wow, you got a really good bishop, they say. He must be really good if he comes and meditates with the Buddhists, you know. There are places where in the Catholic world that would be dangerous, you know. But San Francisco, being what it is, you know, it's part of being a San Franciscan, you know, that the Buddhist bishop gets to meditate with the Buddhists. So not only, and now he's moved on to Santa Fe, so not only did Bishop John meditate with the Buddhists, let me tell you how he meditates. The first of the Chan Zen Catholic dialogues was held at City of 10,000 Buddhas. And it was my job to turn the lights on in the morning for the meditation. And we were meditating in Annex 2, I guess, 3, in the Great Compassion Quad. And so I got there early. I think we were sitting at 5:30 or 6, and I got there at about 5:15. And here was Bishop John Wester waiting outside the door to get in. Hey, Bishop John, how are you? Good morning. He's keeping noble silence. He wasn't talking. Oh, that's impressive. So I opened the door, lit some incense, turned the lights on, and he sat right down, and he's like that, just sitting on the floor, right? Crossed his legs. I'm like, whoa, check this out, He sat like a rock, boom, it's really stable. And so the hour's up, ding, ring the bell. Everybody gradually gets up, ding, tonk, tonk. Bishop John is still sitting there. So I'm like, I'm going to check this out. I sit beside him, Another 20 minutes goes by. He's turn the lights out, lock the door, heading for breakfast. I said, wow, Bishop John, what kind of Buddhist meditation are you doing? He said, Buddhist meditation? I'm doing the Jesus prayer. What's the Jesus prayer? It's called the Philokalia. Do people know the Philokalia? Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me, a sinner. Right? Anybody read Franny and Zoe? J.D. Salinger? Uh-oh, rubber hits the pavement. Nope. J.D. Salinger, Franny and Zoe, you're all too young. How can that be? There was a time, there were a few years in the 60s when everybody read every Salinger book, right? Holden Caulfield, Raise High, the Roof Beam Carpenters, and Franny and Zoe, Okay, so the Salinger book has to do with the Philokalia, which is a Greek Orthodox prayer called the Jesus prayer. Bishop John, instead of going, Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me, a sinner, he went, Lord Jesus, have mercy. Lord Jesus, have mercy. Inhale, time to the inhale and exhale. He abbreviated it to Lord Jesus, have mercy. A 4-syllable mantra. Right? And it worked. He was like, boom. I don't know, was he in samadhi? I can't tell, but it sure looked like he was pretty stable. Lord Jesus, have mercy. Using the Philokalia, the Jesus prayer, to time to his breath and very quiet. So how neat, right? So that's been one of my very best Buddhist Catholic dialogue stories. So when I told the oblate, the woman this morning who I got to meet, the new director of MID, she was like, "Wow, yeah. We do that too, only not everybody knows about it, And she's in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So how about that? So how neat to have our Bodhisattva here being able to enter samadhi to the point where it matters that he continues or she continues, to the point that the Buddhas show up to say, don't stop, keep going. Right? You have the Buddhas as your own personal cheering squad. No pom-poms, But they're there saying, keep going, don't stop. Very neat. And apparently some don't continue. It's such a psychological shock to have the world turn upside down and be so strange when consciousness bakes into wisdom. Anybody, let's see here, anybody online got a question there? No questions? Okay. How many people do we have? We really appreciate the tech team's efforts.
We have 44 online currently.
Okay.
We have 69
69 in China. It's going to, I know. China scale, right? 44 online listening to the English, 69 listening to Cliff Wang and Sam Ong's translation of the Chinese. Wow, Cliff, Gongda Wuliang, Zhenda, Butsuola. So he's listening to my English and speaking into a microphone, Mandarin for YY. 69. If this continues, this trend continues, by Christmas there will be 169. No doubt. Okie doke. To be continued. Now, I was thinking, do you all have a songbook in front of you? Turn to page 28 and 29 in your songbook. This is about not an 8th stage bodhisattva, but a 10th stage bodhisattva. Going to tune one course here. There it is. That's what I was looking for. Okay, Earth Store Bodhisattva. This is the Earth Store praise. The ballad. This is the Earth Store ballad. And Earth Store Bodhisattva, because he is a 10th stage Bodhisattva, he's gone through this crossroads, met the challenge, and now his mind attains that mirror-like perfection and stability, doesn't move at all. So his environment, his neighborhood is the hells. Imagine what it would be like to have that as your zip code. I return, I rely on the Bodhisattva King of great vows. I return, I rely. This is a sing-along, obviously. The Bodhisattva King of great vows. To end her mother's misery. We're going to have to put a capo on it. I think I do this every time, and I always forget in between singings of it that this requires a higher pitch. Oop. There we go. To end her mother's misery was her quest. To end her mother's misery was her quest. Her vow she professed, a filial child so blessed. To end her mother's misery was her quest. I return, I rely on the Bodhisattva King of great vows. I return, I rely on the Bodhisattva King of great vows. He shakes his staff and makes the suffering end. He shakes his staff and makes the suffering end. And then living beings' karma starts the whole thing up again after he shakes his staff and the suffering ends. I return, I rely on the Bodhisattva King of great vows. I return, I rely on the Bodhisattva King of great vows. Until the hells are empty, he won't rest. Until the hells are empty, he won't rest. Saving those who've transgressed is the thing that she does best. Until the hells are empty, she won't rest. I return, I rely on the Bodhisattva Bodhisattva, king of great vows. I return, I rely on the Bodhisattva, king of great vows. The fires of the hells won't make him move. The fires of the hells won't make him move. So firm are his vows, he'll still there till we improve. The fires of the hells won't make him move. Here we go. I return, I rely on the Bodhisattva, king of great vows. I return, I rely on the Bodhisattva, king of great vows. Okay, last verse, here we go. It's best to practice patience when you're stressed. It's best to practice patience when you're stressed. King Yama's unimpressed with your screams of protest. It's best to practice patience when you're stressed. Last chance, here we go. I return, I rely on the Bodhisattva, king of great vows. I return, I rely on the Bodhisattva, king of great vows. Yes, indeed. The capo doesn't work with this guitar, my golly. We will now transfer the merit, and after the transference, then we'll talk about our announcements. But that's on the back, the last page of your songbook. It's also on the flip side of your Dharma request sheet. I want to say again how much I appreciate the efforts of folks who are helping the Dharma go out worldwide. And when you, through your efforts, allow other people to meet the Dharma, what happens is, in future lives, you get a chance to hear the Dharma yourself. It's by making it possible for others, you increase your connections with hearing and learning the Dharma. And when you hear it, it's clear, right? So, how wonderful is that? So, please make a wish, transfer the merit, make your own broadcast tower with your mind. Here we go, ready? May every living being, our minds as one and radiant with light, share the fruits of peace with hearts of goodness, luminous and bright. If people hear and see how hands and hearts can find in giving unity, may our minds awake to great compassion, wisdom, and to joy. May kindness find reward, may all who sorrow leave their grief and pain. May this boundless light break the darkness of their endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. Alrighty. So, I wanted to announce the Guanyin session coming up in advance. We have a Guanyin session following our Buddha Root Farm Week, which will be not this coming week, but the following week. So it's 2 weeks from tonight will be the beginning of the Guanyin Bodhisattva session at City of 10,000 Buddhas. Not to be missed, if you have never had that experience, please do check it out. Guanyin Bodhisattva is at home in the City of 10,000 Buddhas, and there's definitely a feeling during those retreats, that week of chanting Guanyin's name, that is like none other. Quite wonderful. You don't have to go for the whole week. You can go for part of a day or 3 days and still get that feeling. So check it out, and don't take it from me. Check it out yourself. So that's not this week, not the coming week, not the following week, but the third week from third week, right, from tonight. Let's see here. Jin Huanshu, have you got some things to announce?
Maybe just to give specific dates for that retreat. It's July 28th to August 4th at the City of 10,000 Buddhas. If you would like to sign up with English classes and kind of a support group that kind of helps orient new people to the Guanyin retreat, you can sign up at drbux.org. There's a kind of a team through the university that helps with the orienting of new participants. Other than that, I think we have the nuns coming tomorrow, which is Sunday. They come at, I think, 5 to 6, and they have their tea time, and then they have their Dharma talk starting at 7:30 in the evening. The Theravada nuns, from Aloka Vihara, I'm not sure, it's Santa Rosa?
Ananda Bodhi.
Santuchita?
Santachita. Venerable
Santuchita.
Santachita.
Ayya Santuchita will be here tomorrow. Other than that, I think, anything else? I think it's a quiet week next week.
Okay.
With twice a day meditation. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Great. Alrighty. Let us have a week full of blessings and wisdom, and see you all next week. Bow in respect to the Venerable Master. Namo